Only one artist seems to capture the full emotional complexity of Mary and Joseph's discovery of Jesus in the temple after he had been missing for 3 days. Most artists emphasize Christ the teacher. Simone Martini emphasizes Christ the boy. Painted in 1342, Discovered in the Temple removes the temple, the elders, and the spectacle. What remains is adolescence. But to understand why this moment matters and why it feels so familiar, we have to go back to Jerusalem. Each year, Jesus' extended family made the roughly 32-hour pilgrimage from Nazareth to Jerusalem for Passover, joining the crowds that tripled the city's population. They would stay for a week or more, maybe in tents. Every year, the temple complex had additions. Jerusalem during Passover was as exciting and crowded as a city hosting the Olympics. Rooftops, courtyards, and public space jammed to capacity. At 12, Jesus likely accompanied the men to the ritual bath and temple and offered his first animal sacrifice, maybe a lamb that walked with them from Nazareth. Afterwards, the family ate roasted meat with unleavened bread and bitter herbs, telling the Exodus story. Luke describes Jesus as strong and filled with the wisdom of God. His parents would have trusted him, and he likely roamed the city with friends and visited with his cousin, John. He was trusted, capable, on the edge of adulthood. When the festival ended, the family packed up and began their journey home. After a full day of travel, perhaps at mealtime, Mary and Joseph realized Jesus wasn't with the caravan. They searched among relatives and friends. Nothing. So they returned to Jerusalem. After 3 days, they found him in the temple courts, sitting among the teachers, listening and asking questions. The sun had risen and set twice. Even if Jesus did not realize that his family had left the city, where did he sleep? What did he eat? Was he concerned that his parents would worry? Mary says, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." And Jesus responds, "Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be in my Father's house?" These are the first words of Jesus recorded in Scripture, and they mark a turning point, not a rebellion, but a reordering of authority. Simone Martini's depiction of the scene is unusual. Most artists focus on the exchange between Jesus and the teachers. They crowd around him, faces shifting from awe to rapt attention, to open skepticism, or even contempt. Jesus is typically enthroned or elevated on a dais or behind a lectern. If Mary and Joseph appear at all, they're pushed to the margins or in the background. Almost always, Jesus seems unaware of them, calm, composed, and untroubled by their fear. Many artists leave Mary and Joseph out entirely. A smaller group of artists shifts the focus. Instead of the teachers, they concentrate on Jesus and his parents. Philippe de Champagne, for example, captures the moment Jesus responds to his mother, pointing upward as he says, "I am in my Father's house." Others, like William Holman Hunt and Jason Jenick, emphasize Mary and Joseph's relief when they finally find him. James Tissot paints the scene twice, once with Jesus among the teachers, and once with Jesus reunited with his parents. But the emotional temperature is restrained. Rather than relief, Tissot subtly connects this episode to the crucifixion. Jesus stands front and center, arms outstretched, palms open, foreshadowing what is to come, before he will be absent for another 3 days. Across the centuries, artists depict this event in Jesus' life, but they don't agree on what it is really about. Is this a story of authority, of revelation, of obedience? And among all these attempts, two artists offer radically different answers to the same question. This is where Simone Martini begins. Instead of showing Jesus with the rabbis or with his parents, Giotto captures the pivot, the exact moment of interruption. Jesus looks up mid-gesture, and his role shifts instantly from teacher and Messiah to son and child. Mary reaches for him, her pace quickening, urgency written into her movement. Giotto de Bondone transformed Western painting. He introduced solid figures with natural bodily proportions and mass, and set them within a believable three-dimensional space. Just as importantly, he returned human emotions to Christian art through expressive faces, gestures, and relationships. 2 years later, the great Sienese painter Duccio de Boinsegna depicts the same pivotal moment, but very differently. Duccio retains the traditional Byzantine gold background, but also hints at a defined physical space. His forms emphasize elegance, flowing lines, gentle gestures, and restrained intimacy. Giotto finds the moment. Duccio preserves the feeling. Simone Martini studied both and chose neither. Instead, he would find the child. When I grow up. Only one artist fully captures the emotional complexity of this moment. Not as theology, not as doctrine, but as family. Simone Martini. Though not documented, Simone Martini is widely believed to have been a student of Duccio, whose rich color, elegant poses, flowing lines, and emotional sensitivity shaped his early work. He was also deeply aware of Giotto's innovations, especially in how the figures communicate and their physical presence and weight. Simone absorbs both innovations and traditions and pushes it even further. A father himself and the master of a large workshop in 14th century Siena, Simone had overseen the training of many 12-year-old apprentices. By the time he painted Discovered in the Temple in 1342, he knew tweens. A gold background forces our attention onto a boy who wants to be treated like a man, and his parents who see a child who still needs guidance. This is not a symbolic moment, it's a human one. Jesus stands with arms crossed, indignant. Tears stain Mary's face. Relief has given way to exasperation. Her book is open, her question written plainly on the page. Joseph gestures towards Mary as if to say, "Look what you're doing to your mother." It's achingly human. By staying in Jerusalem, Jesus didn't allow his earthly parents to set his agenda, and he gently corrected Mary. Joseph was not his father. The temple was his father's house. And yet, when they returned to Nazareth, Luke tells us that Jesus was obedient to them. The relationship had changed. Jesus was his own person under God's authority, and he wanted to be treated as such. Simone's painting invites us to witness that delicate balance between youthful independence and obedience, all in a single frozen moment. Which part of Simone Martini's painting feels most human to you? The posture of Jesus, Mary's expression, or Joseph's gesture? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments. Subscribe for more explorations of scripture, art, and the traditions that shape our faith.